Let him go.
Can I put the 3 case on you?
I'm like, what's the matter now? Let him go.
What's the matter?
Oh, ouch. Okay. Okay. Here we-
Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 8th City Council meeting of the City of Greenfield. Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor White,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Here.
Councilmember Jones,
Here.
and Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
Everyone's here. We'll skip item C. Invocation, please. Pastor Mullen.
Good evening, everyone. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you today, first and foremost, thanking you for being with us and always being a help to us. And we ask even tonight that, Lord, you guide this meeting and direct every decision, Lord. And may your will be done concerning our city, concerning all of the agencies as we lift them up to you. And we just pray for wisdom, pray for knowledge, clarity and understanding, and unity, and hope and love. And Lord, we thank you in advance. Be sure and crown everything back to you, giving you all of the honor, all of the glory, and all of the praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right. Pledge of Allegiance, please stand. Ready? Agenda review.
No changes, Mr. Mayor?
All right. We'll move to item G, public comments from the audience regarding items not on the agenda. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the council on any items not on closed session, consent calendar, public hearings, and city council business. Under state regulations, no action can be taken on non-agenda items, including issues raised under this agenda item. Members of the public should be aware of this when addressing council regarding items not specifically referenced on this agenda. Do we have any public comments this evening? All right. We'll move on to comments from city council.
I'm going to talk a little bit just because I had dental work and my teeth is still in pain. But I wanted to let you guys know I went to the, is it the little flea market that we have? What is it,
The gazebo?
Gazebo, yes. It was very nice. I didn't know that we had so many businesses out there. It was amazing, especially the food. It was good. And I got to see a lot of people, so it was very nice. And my kids went with me, so they went around and shopped a little. But it's been good, so that's my update.
Okay. Excellent progress on the sidewalk along Walnut and the 101. It's almost from 3rd Street all the way up and over the freeway and down the hill. I did attend a broadband meeting, and it was very brief, but it was nice to hear that San Lucas and San Nardo, the spectrum is expanded there and taking on some more customers. And I did attend as a public member to the Solid Waste Agency, and again, you know, that's one of my main things, to protect our water resources here. I want to send words of appreciation to our police officers who serve and at times give their lives in the line of duty. Today, I want to send condolences to the family of King City Police Sergeant Ryan Kennedy, who passed after suffering from a medical emergency on duty. And thank you to our Greenfield Police Department who has been assisting. And also on KSBW, our Captain Paredes spoke on behalf of Greenfield and the good work that we're doing here, the teamwork. And regarding our first responders, on March 19th in the evening, I had to call 911 as a car accident happened right in front of my home. And I was surprised at how quickly I got off my couch, picked up the phone, made the call, went across the street, and by the time I got to the cars, the sirens were going. And the police were there, and the fire department and the ambulance were there before I could even get off of 911 to finish giving them the details. So they were very kind to the victim in the car crash. And before you knew it, the street was swept up and cleaned and everybody disappeared and it was taken care of so quickly. So, and then on a lighter note, I'm enjoying the T-ball game. I know one day those kids are gonna know you go get the ball. Throw the ball to first base. You stop at the base. My little grandnephew was playing and he, we're working on the why, but he did ask his coach, why do you keep telling me to pick up the bat? He goes, get back to the dugout. But why? Just go. And then also, they had a great fundraiser for popcorn, selling delicious popcorn. So if anybody wants popcorn, I got boxes and boxes I purchased. So we got popcorn galore coming out of my house. And then this week, my community shout out goes to the Greens Accounting at 300 El Camino. As we know, it's tax season, and it sure is nice to have a tax accountant in town that we can go to and have some questions answered. So I appreciate his business. That's it.
Good, thank you. Ortiz?
Hi, good evening. Let me see, where was I starting? So yesterday I went for a ride along with one of our community members to go look at water leaks, which there are a number of them throughout town. But I did have a conversation with City Manager Wood, and he was letting me know what the status of those were. I know that you all are aware of them, and I just want the people that are calling in to know that we are addressing them. We are hearing their concerns. I am out there looking. I have a lot of pictures on my phone of all the different places that we went yesterday. So I trust that when we do get parts and we get a little bit more manpower, that all those will be taken care of. Secondly, I went out to Oak Park yesterday to go look at the pool. If none of you have been out there, you should go, because the pool is full right now. They filled it with water and it looks beautiful. I was talking to a couple of people in the community, and we were thinking of doing a cleanup, but going offering to do some volunteer work out there. But they got a pretty good crew out there right now, and they're doing a lot of cleanup. It looks really good. I'm hoping that they're going to be ready for the end of May for Memorial Weekend to go ahead and open up. And yeah, but it looks really great. You should all go take a look out there. And they are charging now to go into the park, so that's another thing. Also, I believe it was about a year ago, we had the jiu-jitsu come in for, they were out of Soledad and they came over here about 2 times a week. Well, just recently, the building they were in Soledad was sold, so they weren't able to rent the space anymore. So they did come to Greenfield full-time. So they're right over next door to Avila Boxing. I've heard from a number of community members that they have their children over there. They really enjoy it, and I think it's really fortunate that we can have them here full-time now instead of in Soledad. And if you're interested, they are still taking sign-ups out there, so it'd be something great to go and get involved in. And another thing I wanted to talk about was last week wasn't so great for our city with the lot of police activity that was here. I want to thank our police department for keeping us safe and working with other agencies to make sure that this problem was resolved. But I do have to say that we still have a lot of work to do. I don't believe that this is an isolated incident, and we need to do more. We need to do more as a city. What that is, not quite sure. I've talked to City Manager Wood about a couple of things, and hopefully we can make something come of that. But again, just wanted to say thank you to Chief Mixer and your staff for keeping us safe. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to start with an announcement about our MST board meeting that's coming up this week. Monday, we will be meeting on the 14th at 10 a.m. at 19 Upper Ragsdale Drive in Monterey. For all of our residents that are concerned about the on-call services that want to state their case to continue on-call services, that would be the perfect time when our board considers that action. It's not on the agenda as a consideration of continuing on-call services. It's an update about the circulars. However, we are before the 72 hours of the Brown Act requires for us to revise the agenda, because I do want that to be a more narrow topic about actually continuing those services and not an update. So I would encourage everybody to join. You can join on Zoom. You don't have to go in person, and you can make public comment that way. And if you want to send letters in or emails, I am compiling those to forward by Thursday evening so that they could be attached to a revised agenda or to the agenda. So those can be directed to me or to our city clerk. Is that okay? And then she'll forward them on to me, and I will get those to our board. Next, I did want to talk about, everyone's kind of highlighted something about the police activity and stuff, but the collision that was involving a child is what I wanted to mention, because this happened soon after what has happened with the teenager that I had witnessed the hit and run with, and just asking that we all take our time and be careful and be mindful that there are children that will dash into the street, you know, and it's important that we keep each other safe. If you see something, say something. I was really happy to read that the driver stuck around. It wasn't a hit and run, and they were fully cooperating, because accidents do happen, and that is the right thing to do. And then that just leads me to a reminder that the reward is out there still for any information leading to apprehension of the person that was responsible for the Valentine's Day hit and run with the young man. And lastly, I had a request from community members who run the ACLU Greenfield Lab out of the community center. And I struggle with community or rec center. The community center, right, the one on El Camino. And they call it ACLU, a Greenfield Lab, and they would like to come and present about the services that they offer out of that building for students. They gave a presentation where they highlighted all their services to me, and I thought I'd bring that forward and ask if everybody's okay with inviting them to present. I think it's helpful to just get the information out there about a resource where students can go and study, have access to computers and such. So I would like to request that we do that. And lastly, an update on the California Gourmet Pizza. It's been something going on for a while. I've asked for info in our one-on-ones, and we're gonna get that, I hear, but I think our community wants an update on what's happening with that. So if we could have an update on that. Oh, the other thing about MST was I wanted to ask if it would be appropriate for us to post a link to that meeting on our city Facebook page, or is that something that maybe we shouldn't do? Jennifer, I don't know if that's a legal thing. Like, would it be appropriate for us to post the MST agenda and link to the meeting on our page?
Yeah, I don't see why not, because you as one of the representatives of the city being on that board. Yeah,
Okay. And we have an item on this agenda, so I think it would be just helpful so people can find their way to the meeting. Yeah. Can we do that, Ann? I'll send over the information. Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. I have several things tonight. I attended the Blue Zone Walk this morning. It's every Tuesday for the next several months, couple months. We walk for about 30 to 45 minutes. Drawings are held at the end of the walk with prizes from local businesses. It's open to all ages. There's people there with strollers, there's seniors, there's mothers, there's everybody there. So please attend if you get a chance. Just a heads up, if you're wanting to get rid of old tires and maybe cluttering up your yard or your garage, it's time to get rid of them for free. Trash collection sites in King City, Gonzales, and Salinas are all allowing free drop-off of tires from April 5th to May 31st. Remind everyone about our Easter event on April 16th at Patriot Park, 4 to 6:30. Come out and have some fun. I attended the Central Coast Community Energy meeting on March 19th. The main thing on the agenda was a resolution approving a rate adjustment. The rate is still going to be 2% below PG&E rate, but we did approve the rate increase. March 27th, Paul Woods, Curtis Weeks, our consultant, David Armanosco from California Strategies, and I took a one-day trip to Sacramento to try and get funding for our wastewater treatment plant. We met with several representatives of the State Water Resources Control Board and had separate meetings with Assemblyman Rivas and his staff and Senator Laird and his staff regarding our situation with our treatment facility. We were once promised that the state was going to pay for the whole project, but now, with the way the state budget is, that appears to be a thing of the past. I don't think that's happening. We're trying to obtain funds from several different sources at the moment. The most promising is Prop 4 funding, but it will only be a partial funding. So most likely we'll be seeing a rate increase proposal in the near future. So that's something that's going to be coming to us soon. As you know, the current plant was built in the 1950s and is inadequate. It doesn't meet today's standards for wastewater disposal. It's got to be replaced or upgraded. A couple more items. The County of Monterey District Attorney's Office will be hosting a commemoration of the 2025 National Crimes Victims' Rights Week, April 11th at noon to 1 in Salinas, and it's in the courthouse rotunda. If you're able to attend that, I've attended the last few years, and it's quite a moving situation there. So if you're able to attend, it would be great. Chief and I attended last year. And just a final reminder, tomorrow is Senior Social from 11 to 1 at the Greenfield Memorial Hall. So if you're able to attend, that's a lot of fun. All right. Now we'll move to consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved by one action of City Council unless a request for removal, for discussion, or explanation is received prior to the time Council votes on the motion to adopt. Open public comments for the consent calendar. Seeing none, I'll come back to council. Does anybody need anything pulled, or I'll entertain a motion? Move to adopt. I need a second. Second. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. We'll move to J1. Adopt a resolution of City Council of the City of Greenfield declaring the results of balloting tabulated in accordance with Article XIID of the California Constitution and California Government Codes 53753, ordering improvements and confirming the diagrams and annual assessments for the Greenfield Landscape and Lighting Maintenance Assessment District Number 4 for the Apple Avenue Home Subdivision pursuant to the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972 for 2025-26 fiscal year. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor White and Council. The Apple Avenue Homes subdivision is an approved final map subdivision in the City of Greenfield. The developer has agreed as a condition of development in cooperating with the formation of special maintenance assessment districts that will fund maintenance of landscape and lighting in the subdivision in the future. Steps required by Council for formation of this district under Proposition 218 are to adopt a resolution to initiate proceedings for the formation of the landscape lighting maintenance district. Number 4, in preliminary approval of engineer's report subject to pending proceedings, including ballot proceedings and noticed hearing proceedings concerning the district in accordance with California Constitution, Article XIIID. Sorry, no Roman numerals over here. California Government Code Section 53753 and the 1972 Act. And declare its intention to order the levy and collect assessments for the district and set a public hearing on the formation of the district and levy the proposed assessment pursuant to the 1972 Act. This first step was accomplished by a city council action on February 11th, 2025, which set a hearing date for today, April 8th, 2025. A minimum of 45 days has passed. Staff has provided to and received back a ballot from the sole property owner. By resolution, council will declare the results of balloting tabulated in accordance with Article XIIID of the California Constitution and California Government Code Section 53753, ordering improvements and confirming the diagrams and annual assessments for the City of Greenfield Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District Number 4 pursuant to the 1972 Act for the 2025 to 2026 fiscal years. Ballots have been received from the owner of the parcels in the district. The city clerk tabulated one ballot submitted and not withdrawn in support of the proposed assessment, and 0 ballots were submitted and not withdrawn in opposition to the proposed assessment. Therefore, the ballots submitted and not withdrawn in opposition to the proposed assessment did not exceed the ballots submitted and not withdrawn in support of the proposed assessment, and thus the majority protest does not exist concerning formation of the assessment. And the attached resolution, if approved, will complete the formation of the Landscape and Lighting Maintenance District Number 4.
Thank you very much. I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak regarding item J1?
I just want to verify that the ballot was received and they voted yes.
Great, thank you. Seeing no one coming forward, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Bring it back to City Council for comments, review, and action. Any questions or comments? Pretty straightforward. These have come before us before in this new subdivision.
I move to adopt.
Motion to adopt. Need a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. J2, adopt a resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield declaring the result of balloting tabulated in accordance with Article XIIID of the California Constitution, California Government Code Section 53753, ordering improvements and annual assessments for the Streets and Drainage Maintenance District Number 4, Apple Avenue Home Subdivision, and the Walnut Travel Center pursuant to the Benefit Assessment Act of 1982 for the 2025-26 fiscal year. Staff report, please.
Yes, the Walnut Travel Center and Apple Avenue Homes are approved final map, non-residential and residential subdivisions in the city. The developers have agreed as a condition to their development in cooperating with the formation of a special maintenance assessment district that will fund the maintenance of street and drainage in the subdivision in the future. Once again, the Prop 218 process was conducted as in the first staff report with the landscape and lighting districts. The first step was accomplished by action of council on February 11th, 2025, which did set a hearing date of today, April 8th, 2025, and a minimum of 45 days has passed. Excuse me. Ballots have been received from the owners of the parcels in the district, and the city clerk tabulated, I need to make a correction here, 2 ballots submitted and not withdrawn in support of the assessment, and 0 ballots submitted and not withdrawn in opposition. So we did receive the 2 ballots voting yes, and both the owners are in agreement to the formation of this district.
Thank you. I will open the public hearing on item J2. Anyone who wishes to speak concerning this item? Seeing no then close the public hearing. And bring it back to city council for comments, review, and action. Motion to adopt, need a second?
Second.
May I make a suggestion? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Could we adopt with a change to stating 2 ballots were received?
Yep.
And submitted, not withdrawn in support? It was a
Yes,
typo.
I would add that to the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Measure passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
J3, introduction and first reading of an ordinance of the City of Greenfield amending Chapter 17.10 and Chapter 2.20 of the Greenfield Municipal Code. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor White and City Council. This item is an amendment to 2 sections of the city's municipal code to change or clarify how planning commissioners are appointed, and then a couple of other minor revisions related to that, which I'll explain. But as you'll recall, City Council discussed a couple of times how they would like to appoint planning commissioners in the future, and they came to a consensus at a previous council meeting, and so we've made the required amendments to the municipal code. So this is the first reading of those municipal code changes, and you'll see these again at the next city council meeting for the second reading. But in summary, I'll start with the changes not related to planning commission appointments. So one thing that we just happened to notice in the code when we were reviewing with the other ordinance amendments is that it said that the planning commission can make all votes or pass all votes with a simple majority, and that's not necessarily compliant with state law. When the resolution is adopted, it requires a majority of the council, not the majority of the council members present. So it always requires 3 affirmative votes. So for example, if there were 3 planning commissioners present, it would require 3 affirmative votes even though only 3 members are present. So we just clarified that language in the ordinance. In addition, we also changed, and this was at the request of the Planning Commission when they reviewed their bylaws, so this is also changed in their bylaws. But rather than allowing planning commissioners to live within 1 mile of city limits, we've changed that to be within the city's sphere of influence. And the sphere of influence is a section surrounding the city that's identified in the city's general plan, but it's the area outside of city limits where the city's expected to expand into. And so it made sense to the Planning Commission that planning commissioners who are kind of responsible for future planning would live in the sphere of influence rather than in kind of an arbitrary 1 mile area around the city. And then the third change are those amendments that you're aware of because you decided them, but it's when it's related to appointing planning commissioners. So in summary, if a planning commissioner who's seated and their term is ending would like to serve another term, they're required by November 15th of the year their term is ending to submit a letter to the city clerk saying that they're interested in serving another term. The city council will consider those letters at the first meeting in December and decide whether or not to reappoint those planning commissioners. If a planning commissioner doesn't submit a letter by November 15th and it's signaling that they don't want to serve another term, then the city will go out for applications for new planning commissioners, and the city council will also consider those at the first meeting in December. There is also a caveat that if planning commissioners has served less than 6 months, they won't be able to submit a letter to be reappointed. So that would likely occur if they were appointed to fill a vacancy and only served a short amount of time. If that short amount of time was less than 6 months, then they'd still have to go through the application process. Because the intent of the ability of a planning commissioner to serve another term is to be able to use their expertise, and with only a 6-month service, they may not have developed any expertise. That concludes my presentation, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I think we should go ahead and do the public hearing first and then ask the questions. So I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on this item, J3. Seeing nobody, request. I will close the public hearing and bring it back to City Council for comments, review, and action. I do have one thing on that 6-month thing. I was the one that mentioned the 6 months. That was just kind of an arbitrary placeholder. I don't know whether 1 year makes more sense to council.
Thank you for mentioning that, because I was gonna ask that. You haven't heard that 6-month thing
Yeah.
before.
I just thrown that out as just an example, so I'm wondering if maybe a full year would probably be better for this kind of a situation. That's what I know I'm open to suggest
Yeah.
to the council.
And
Is
that's
that,
up to you.
A stipulation that was brought up by planning commissioners when they were reviewing their bylaws, or that's always existed in there?
No, that was brought up at the city council meeting when you all were discussing this item.
Yeah,
So
that's the number, I
that's-
mentioned that number at one point.
I would be okay with 6 months, because I think even in 6 months, you already learn a lot, or when you first start is actually when you really dive into trying to learn as much as you can. So I do think somebody that would qualify to be appointed and be there already for 6 months learning should be afforded that same opportunity, since the full term is only 2 years for planning commissioners, right?
3 year thing.
Yeah, 3 years.
Okay, yeah, so I would be okay with the 6 months.
Is everyone else the same? Okay, that's fine. Any other questions or comments?
And then this one, because it is an ordinance adoption, I will request that you use the recommendation on page 121 for your motion. If you'd prefer, I can read it, and then whoever wants to make the motion could just say so moved.
Why don't you go ahead?
Okay, okay.
Go ahead.
I have a question. So, just to be clear, so if somebody wants to be reappointed and then they submit their letter to us and they come before council, we still have the option to not appoint, and then it would go out to, okay,
Mhm.
just want to be clear.
Yep, yep.
My other question was about the sphere of influence thing. So is that common on planning commissions, like in other cities, do they do that? And is there then something that determines what that sphere is? So, how many miles? Because then it's sort of leaves it up to anybody's interpretation, right? If it's just sphere.
No, it is a specific boundary that's in the general plan, so it's a very specific area. A lot of planning commissions or cities will just allow planning commissioners within city limits, who live in city limits, but then sometimes they'll expand it to the sphere. It's kind of at the discretion of the city. I think a lot of times they'll expand it if they have trouble getting the right number of commissioners from within city limits. Right now, I think all of the commissioners live in the city.
I think so. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody's out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the current rules say they must, right?
No, the current rules say they can live within 1 mile.
Within a mile.
Yeah.
within that,
Yeah.
The wider.
The sphere is probably smaller than the 1 mile. I'd have to
Yes,
confirm
yes.
that,
I
but,
think it's much smaller.
yeah.
It just targets certain parcels that are kind of in the path of development.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think the discussion we had was that the mile was a little too wide, and it might include people who aren't really even involved with the city itself, and so we wanted to
Never went down.
bring it to specifically to our sphere.
I would move to approve. or
Yeah,
no,
I'll
you're gonna
read it. I move to introduce and read by title only, first reading of the proposed ordinance amending Chapter 17.10 and Chapter 2.20 of the Greenfield Municipal Code.
So moved.
So moved, I need a second.
Second? I'll give it to you.
Been moved and second, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, thank you. J4, introduction and first reading of an ordinance of the City of Greenfield repealing Chapter 17.9 of the Greenfield Municipal Code related to accessory dwelling units and adopting a new ordinance in its place, considering state requirement modifications and submitting an ordinance to the State Housing and Community Development Department for review. Staff report, please.
Yeah, this is also an ordinance amendment, and I am going to do a presentation, a more extensive presentation, because this is about accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, and I do think this is a topic that council may get asked about at times, or may be interested in knowing a little bit more about what is and isn't allowed, because you likely see them popping up, and may get questions from your constituents or even just have questions yourself about what is and isn't allowed when it comes to accessory dwelling units. And before I start, I do also want to acknowledge that the City Council received a letter today from the California Housing Defense Fund that, and I have not fully analyzed the letter because, again, it came this afternoon, but it seems to like pick apart some parts of the ordinance, and we are going to analyze it in more detail, but I will say that I'm pretty confident that this ordinance is compliant with state law because it is based upon almost verbatim what is in the state law. But again, if we look at the letter and there's things we want to change when we bring this back for the second reading in a couple of weeks, we can make those minor adjustments and explain them to the council. Okay, so just in general, the city will review its zoning regulations or its zoning ordinance from time to time because state laws do change that will impact the city zoning ordinance. And in particular, ADUs, it's an area of housing law that has changed many, many times over the last few years. And the last time that the city updated its ADU ordinance was in 2018. And since that time, so in the last 6 years, the state of California has made many, many changes to ADU law. Some of those are just to make the process more simple for someone who wants to build one. And as a result, it takes away a lot of local control, so a lot of the city's ability to regulate ADUs on its own. So I just want to go through some of the changes that have occurred just to highlight how quickly this has all changed. In 2019, the legislature eliminated minimum lot sizes. They required agencies like the city to allow ADUs that are at least 850 square feet. They eliminated a city's ability to charge impact fees for ADUs under 750 square feet. They also, in 2020, prohibited local governments from imposing owner occupancy requirements on ADUs. In 2021, they provided that applications for ADUs have to be approved or reviewed within 60 days. In 2022, they said that in some cases, cities can allow, this one's actually permissive, separate conveyance of ADUs, meaning you could sell the primary home separately from the ADU. The city of Greenfield hasn't adopted that, and I don't think they plan to. Well, it's up to you, but. In 2023, the legislature gave HCD, the Department of Housing and Community Development, enforcement power over ADUs, and so that's been a pretty big deal. So for example, this ADU ordinance, once it's passed by the City Council, will have to go to HCD for review. Not approval, but they do have to review it. In 2023, the legislature also required local governments to develop a program for pre-approval of ADU plans, and I know that's something that the city is currently working on. So it'd be a set of plans for ADUs that people could just use, they're pre-approved. In 2024, they eliminated replacement parking. So if, for example, you place an ADU in a place that used to be reserved for parking, you can't require that the resident replace that parking. So that could be, for example, a garage. And then in 2024, they also prohibited a city or local agency from denying a permit for an unpermitted ADU that was constructed before January 2020. So just an example of how quickly things have changed in the past several years. The city's not required to adopt this ordinance, but if you don't, you're still required to comply with state law. So really the purpose is to ensure that the requirements are easily available for the community or people here that want to build an ADU. They can just go to the city's ordinance and know what they can and can't do. So there's two different types of accessory dwelling units. There's ADUs and then there's junior ADUs, and they have different requirements or things that the city has to allow under the law, and they have different definitions. I'll start with ADUs. ADUs are probably what you typically think of as an ADU, which is just like a little house on the same property as another house. Whereas a JADU is something that's entirely contained within an existing structure. So that's where you think about a garage conversion is the most common, although it could be done in different ways, but that's the most common. So just going to go through the requirements of state law, but these are also what's specifically included in the ordinance that you'll be adopting tonight or discussing tonight. So an ADU can be, a city has to allow an ADU on any property where a residential dwelling is permitted, either by right or even with a conditional use permit. So if it's a lot where a residential use is allowed, then you have to also allow an ADU. There are specific rules about the maximum number of units and the density on a particular lot. So these are generally exceptions to what a city would normally allow. So for example, on a single family lot, the city has to allow one ADU and also one JADU, if that's what the person wants to build. You don't, however, have to allow ADUs and JADUs on 2-unit lot splits, which is a whole nother area of law where people are allowed to split their parcel. But you don't have to allow ADUs and JADUs there. ADUs aren't counted towards maximum density limits. So density is the number of units that are allowed on a particular parcel. ADUs can't be counted toward that number. And then for multifamily properties, some of this is brand new law and pretty interesting, but for example, the city has to allow a maximum of 8 ADUs that are detached from the existing multifamily structure. So think of an apartment building, triplex, something like that, provided that the number doesn't exceed the number of existing units on the lot. So if there's at least 8 existing units, you have to allow 8 ADUs. There are some limitations that I'll talk about with respect to things like setbacks, but they're pretty minimal. And then you also have to allow 1 ADU in a non-livable space. And so they often talk about, like, in an apartment complex, you might convert a storage room or a garage or a boiler room into an ADU. I can't picture how that works, but it's allowed. I guess I should also caveat all of this with all these structures, you know, these do have to comply with the building code. So, you know, they have to be a safe, habitable dwelling for people. So that's still required. And then the state law does have a requirement that there is one particular type of ADU that's by right. So you have to let a person build this ADU. So it's an attached or detached ADU of at least 800 square feet and of at least 16 feet in building height, or I'm sorry, up to 1,800 square feet and up to 16 feet in height with 4-foot side and rear setbacks, and setbacks are the distance from the lot line to the structure. So if someone is able to build that particular ADU on their parcel, they have the space, then you have to allow it. So again, the law sets forth minimum sizes that you have to allow for ADUs and JADUs. And then it also sets forth setbacks, so you can't require setbacks greater than what's in the law. So for example, side and rear setbacks are 4 feet, so you can't require someone to do a 5-foot setback. And if you think 4 feet is not very much, like from the edge of a structure to the property line. You also can't require more than 6 feet between structures. So if you have an ADU and a primary residence on one lot, you can't make them do them further than 6 feet apart. And then there's also requirements related to lot coverage, and that's the amount of the lot that's covered by structure. And there's height limits. So these height limits are, you can't require a shorter building than what is in the law. One that's caused some cities trouble, and I don't think it's going to be a factor in Greenfield, is that if an ADU is within a half mile from a major transit stop, you have to allow a taller ADU. But I don't think that you probably have a major transit stop here as it's defined in the law. The parking, this one's probably of a special interest to the City Council. If an ADU can only be required to provide one off-street parking space per unit, and that's for something with one bedroom or more. An ADU that's a studio, you can't require any off-street parking. You have to allow tandem parking, so meaning cars parked end to end, so you can't require that they put the parking spaces side by side. You have to allow parking in the setback areas, which isn't necessarily ordinarily allowed, but when it comes to an ADU, you have to allow it. If an ADU, I think I might have mentioned this, but if an ADU converts existing parking, like a garage or a carport, you can't require that be replaced. So this just highlights what I think you probably already knew, which is that we're putting more people in the same amount of space, more cars, but not being allowed to require that whoever's building the ADU provide parking. This one is actually particular, well, this one's not, but an ADU has a separate entrance, so it would be separate from the primary residence, where a JADU can share an entrance where you would have to go through the primary residence to get to the JADU. And then the ADU, you may require separate utility connections as long as it's I don't know why this is flashing, but it's kind of driving me crazy. As long as there's other requirements met, but you can require that the ADU have a separate water meter, a separate water line, which is one of the few things cities can require. And then with respect to design, you can require certain design standards as long as they're published in your ordinance. So for example, that the ADU have the same kind of architecture or color or detail as the primary unit if it's visible from the street, but if it's not visible from the street, you can't necessarily have all of those same requirements. You can require mechanical equipment to be screened, so these are things like exterior air conditioning or that sort of thing. You can require that it be blocked by fencing or plants or that sort of thing. You can't require sprinklers in the ADU if they are not required in the primary unit, but if they're required in the primary unit, you can require them in the ADU. And then you cannot require that the ADU be owner occupied. So that's different than a JADU, which we'll talk about next, where you can require that one of the two units be owner occupied. And so moving on to JADUs, it's pretty similar, but there are a couple of differences. I explained the difference between what it is, how it's different from an ADU. You can only have up to one JADU on a property, and the JADU can't be more than 500 square feet, so smaller than a regular ADU. Setbacks aren't necessarily applicable because they're already built inside of an existing dwelling, but you couldn't, for example, if the existing dwelling didn't comply with existing setback rules, you couldn't, when they apply for a JADU, somehow make them comply with that standard. Again, you can't require any off-street parking for a JADU. You just have to, people can park on the street. Again, this one does say you can require a separate entrance. Okay, I misspoke earlier when I said that a JADU could be the same entrance. A JADU does have to have an efficiency kitchen, which is kind of like a studio style, kind of minor kitchen. The city has a particular requirement that's different but allowed, which is that if the JADU is constructed within the existing garage, the city requires some sort of a planter or a raised bed in front of the previous garage door. The purpose being, it's a safety mechanism to ensure that no one drives up and tries to drive into it, I suppose. Yeah. But it's basically a barrier between the driveway and the garage. With the JADU, you can require that the owner live in either the JADU or the primary residence. And you can, if you have that requirement, you can place a deed restriction on the property. So you would record a deed restriction saying that one of these 2 dwelling units has to always be occupied by the owner. It's harder to verify that they do, but you can place the deed restriction. And I won't go too much into the application process except to say that these are ministerially approved, which means if they meet the ordinance, they're approved at the staff level. So the planning commission or the city council would never approve an ADU, because if they check all the boxes, then staff gives them permission to build it. And that's required under the law. And there's 4 particular types of ADUs, which are demonstrated on this slide, that have to be ministerially approved as long as they meet some very minor requirements. Again, you can't charge impact fees unless it's over 750 feet, but you can charge utility connection fees. So if you're going to install a new meter or connect to the water system, sewer system, you could charge fees for that. And you can charge fees to review the application. Again, you can record deed restrictions. Another optional term is that you can restrict these from short-term rentals. So you could say, no, you're not allowed to do like an Airbnb in your ADU or your JADU, because really the purpose is to provide long-term housing for people. And then you can't require that any unpermitted construction be corrected to permit the ADU. So if you're going to allow an ADU on a particular property, you can't say, oh, but you have to fix this other unpermitted thing that you have on the parcel. And I did talk about ministerial approval, and I talked about deed restrictions, so I'm going to skip through this stuff. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
How about let's do the public hearings first, and then we'll do the questions. So I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on G4. We do see one hand.
Daniel?
Go ahead, Daniel.
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is a lot of great information. I did have a question. I was just wondering if you could clarify whether the proposed ADU ordinance includes any rent caps before would be handled under a separate policy.
We don't have rent caps other than the state requirements at this point. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Anything else? And did we lose him?
He's still there, but I don't know. I see him. His microphone's on.
Hello?
There you go.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the response. My apologies.
We don't have any rent caps in Greenfield at this point other than the state requirements.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Right. Any other public comments? If
He was
not,
the
I'll
only
go ahead
one.
and close the public comment. I'll bring it back to council for comments, review, and action. Questions from council?
Question. So, this was asked of me, and I don't know if it makes any sense. So, is an ADU, does it have to be separate? But you said you can convert the garage, correct?
Yeah, that's typically a JADU, but, it's just semantics. You can convert a garage,
Can
yep.
an ADU potentially be built on top, or would that be considered an addition to your home?
If it's a separate dwelling unit, it would be an ADU.
Would
So
it have to have a kitchen, or it could just be?
No, it has to have a kitchen, a bathroom, a separate entrance. A JADU doesn't have to have a separate bathroom, but it has to have that efficiency kitchen I talked about. So with a JADU, again, that could still be conceivably well, it has to be within the confines of the original residence, so that wouldn't be built on top. But yeah, an ADU could be built on top, next to, behind, anywhere it fits.
Not listening.
Yeah.
Also, what about a shed? Like, so, you know how they have these shed, I want a shed so bad. But what is that? That's not like this, right? Or
No, that could conceivably be converted, but it does have to meet building code. And that's where, this is just the approval, like, yes, you can build it, but then they have to get plans approved and they have to have they have to have a
Okay.
building permit and inspection. So if the shed met the building code, it could conceivably be an ADU.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, I tried reading all this. I love puzzles and I love Rubik's Cubes, and I've actually written a solution to Rubik's Cubes, but this is, it can take you one step forward, two steps back, trying to figure out the differences between must have, may have, maximum, at least, no more than. So I'm trusting, my first read, I found some things, but I'm trusting that this document is going to have many eyes on it, and it will be good.
Yes, and HCD will have to take a look at it as well, and they are pretty nitpicky in my experience.
Yes, they are. Thank you.
Mine is more a comment, not a question. Just the letter that we did receive that you mentioned, that was kind of concerning because of what they point out, and really makes it seem that there are some things that may not be in line with state law. So I would just ask that, yes, we obviously review and re-review that it is in compliance with everything.
Yeah, next meeting, 2 weeks from now, when we look at this again, I think typically this is on consent, but maybe we could put it on regular, and I can give a debrief of what we've,
Changes or
Yeah.
just to address what the discrepancies that they raised.
I can
Yes.
explain those to the city council, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, even if we adopt it, then if it conflicts with the state law takes precedence.
Yeah, but we want to adopt something that's enforceable.
Exactly.
And is this only for a reading? We're not really adopting anything, right? It's
Not
just for
tonight.
a reading, right?
Yeah, this is just the first reading, yeah.
Okay.
Right. Anything else? Thank you very much.
Okay, and then I have a motion if you want me to read it when you're ready.
That would be great.
You ready? Okay, let me grab it. I move to introduce by title only and waive the first reading of an ordinance of the City Council repealing Chapter 17.90 of the Greenfield Municipal Code related to accessory dwelling units and adopting a new ordinance in its place, considering state-required modifications and submitting the ordinance to the State Housing and Community Development Department for review.
In my motion, can I say with the stipulation that we do look into those conflicts of the law? Yeah, so I move to,
Move to approve.
yes.
I need a second. Second. Been moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. All right, we'll move to K1. A resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield approving a donation of specified amount to the Greenfield High School Class of 2025 for the Sober Grad event. Staff report, please.
Hello, City Council. Hello, Mayor and City Council. Thanks for having us here. I have with me some representatives from the Greenfield High School Sober Grad Committee who will be sharing a presentation. Is this microphone on? Okay. Okay, awesome. Before I share my staff report, I shared the presentation with our IT, so hopefully you can bring it up.
There is a hand up, just to let you know.
That was not there yet.
Or I can share the the staff report first.
Red, you're supposed to be
Ah.
pulling up her presentation.
Oh, I think they want me to share it. Is there?
Bobby, he says you should be able to share it now with your computer.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, so I will step back and allow the presentation to continue. Thanks.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Viviana Argueta. I am treasurer from the Sober Grad Committee at Greenfield High School. And this is my partner, Rosa.
Rosa Perez. I'm currently serving as president.
I would like to start with sharing our mission. Our mission is to provide graduates with a safe, supervised, and alcohol-free celebration following graduation ceremony, the night of. We provide a safe, fun, and memorable celebration in order to prevent alcohol-related accidents or injuries. We are committed to providing a positive, safe alternative to celebrating their accomplishments, and we strive to have a fun, once-in-a-lifetime experience with a variety of activities. To start off, we would like to share our goal is $25,000, and she'll share more detail and information about it.
So in order to achieve our goal, we've been doing fundraisers. And some of the fundraisers that we've been having are our 4th of July booth. We held a fireworks sale. We raised $5,000. We also did an online Double Good popcorn sale. We raised $1,200. We also had Jamba Juice come out to the farmer's market, and we sold $150 in profit for us. We also have been having at the Harvest Festival that we had in October, we had a booth out there and we sold merchandise, swag, t-shirts, hats, hoodies with our Greenfield High School logo on there. We had some baskets that people donated for items and we did raffle sales. We had $845 worth of profit there. We have been challenged on doing our donation letters to our current business owners. Viviana has been so kind and doing the footwork and walking door to door and handing out letters. We have raised so far $3,600 on that. We do have an upcoming chicken sale, which would be April 13th, Sunday, here at Memorial Hall from 11 to 3. Plates are $15. That would help us, and we're hoping to raise about $2,500 in sales there. We also are going to be sending out a parent letter donation to have the parents for the seniors donate, and we hope to raise about $1,000 in that fundraiser. We want to share our donors that we currently have. So RC Farms has donated $2,000. The Greenfield Village has donated $500. Ascona $250. Monterey Pacific $250. Nell Bassetti $250. Mora Motors $250, and Soledad Auto Sales $100. And these are what we have so far coming in. Does this have all? So this was a graduation video. It just plays the graduation song in the background. Expenses that we are incurring so far. So these are the expenses that we anticipate and some that we are having. We anticipate to have a photo booth for our seniors the day of the sober grad, which is about $1,500. DJ would be about $800. We're hoping to get a grupo and seniors request a banda for them because that's their main request, and we're looking about $2,500 for that. Games is about $500. Mechanical bull rental would be about $350. We have snacks that we're going to provide for them, $500. Drinks, $500. Hot dogs, $300. Desserts, about $300. We're going to have, of course, our decorations, make it look nice, $300. Lighting, we're going to light them up for them, $2,500. Plates, cups, spoons, forks, about $225. Cabling, we're going to get a lift rental to light up the ceiling for them. So that's going to be about $600. If they choose to participate, we are hoping to get a grad gift baggies for them. Last year we participated, we gave them t-shirts, so we're hoping to do the same thing. T-shirts, keychains, $1,500. We do have a liability insurance that we have to pay, and that's about $500 for us. Raffle prizes, we're hoping to at least get about $12,000 for raffle prizes for these seniors. In our raffle prizes, we're looking to hopefully get them 7 laptops, which is about $5,600. We're looking at 2 electrical scooters, $1,300. And then electronics like air fryers, toasters, oven, anything that is a freshman in college would need, desk lamps, fans, $1,200. And then we have the college essential sheets, pillows, towels, mattress pads, blankets, comforters, $1,500. Desk supplies, printers, surge protectors, extension cords, adapters, headphones, charging cords, all that. Wi-Fi extenders, about $2,400 on that. The event, we are hoping to have the event, which is graduation June 6th. We will be charging a $20 entrance fee per senior. The charges that we collect will be going toward the next graduating class of 2026. Last year we had about 115 students, so we anticipate hopefully 150. So we have 150 students and we charge them $20. We'll profit, well, we won't profit. We have $3,000 for the class of 2026 for their senior sober grad. And again, I'm listing the stuff that we hope to have for them, which is their DJ, the games, the mechanical bull, the inflatable jumping houses, gaming room. We'll have a lounge, the live banda, and throughout the night we'll be raffling off prizes for them. Last year's event was a success with 115 seniors attending, and the event, every attendee was receiving a raffle prize, so good job on the ladies that did that last year. Feedback from the seniors, it was amazing, nothing like they were expecting. It was not boring for them, and they were really happy. One of them had a scooter, and they were just driving on the scooter in the high school, so that was really nice to watch. So we're here because we need your help. So our current balance that we have right now is $12,916.71.
Great.
Any questions?
Thank you. Let me go ahead and take public comments on this first, and then we'll go back to council. I'll open it up for public comments. I see one hand raised. What's that? Oh, you have.
If you'd
Wait a
like.
minute. B, wait a minute.
Thank
Fabiola,
you.
go ahead.
So, with this, with the background, as was mentioned in that amazing presentation, We know that a Sober Grad is an event to provide a safe, sober, and fun area for these graduates to celebrate. Since graduation can be one of the riskiest nights for high school students, Sober Grad is more than just a party. It's a commitment by parents, school, and the committee, and as well as the community to conduct this once-in-a-lifetime experience that is alcohol and drug-free. As was mentioned, this event would take place June 6th, 2025, from 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. I included some budget and some of the previous things that some of the previous donations that have been approved, but of course it was already mentioned. The funds will be used to pay for items of interest that will help these seniors who are graduating, rental items, food, photo booth, etc. I won't repeat it all, but as you can see on the following page, there's a list of previous donations by the City of Greenfield by fiscal year, just to give you guys an idea of what has been done in the past. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now.
B. Diaz.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, B.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Great presentation. I've done Sober Grad, a while back, but very happy to say that you see many faces, and I think that donation would be greatly appreciated for the Sober Grad. I know that on 2021, 2022, no donation from the city was to our Sober Grad, because out of compliance with the state of California filing requirements, that was due to account error not following through. Even though Sober Grad went well, with little money they had left from the previous year. I remember that at one time, Councilmember Hurley, had donated to $7,000. Well, the whole council, right? But he suggested $7,000. That was very generous of them. I really hope that you could consider in giving a donation. Sometimes we just gotta work with what we have, which that's what happened on 2021 and 2022. So best of luck to the presenters, and I wish you guys luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for questions, comments.
I have a question. So you mentioned right now was it 12,500 that you have? 12,009.
Yeah, 12,916.
And then you have 2 events that are still pending. You have 2
Yes.
more for the year?
Yes.
And can you recap what the anticipated earnings might be from that?
So for the chicken sale, we're hoping for 2,500, and that's going to be again this Sunday at Memorial Hall from 11 to 4. Please, $15 a plate. Very delicious food. And then we're asking the parents a donation letter. So we're hoping to get at least another $1,000. So another 3,500 is more working.
Okay.
I did ask Paul about what funds were set aside, and I think it's in the staff's report, but Paul, if you'll just share that with the public about what's already been set aside,
Right, so,
anticipating the donation.
yeah, so we do have a city council community outreach. We did anticipate Sober Grad coming, and we've got $5,000 already in the budget.
Okay. Very worthwhile cause. I was on the Sober Grad Committee several years ago, so I commend you ladies for taking this on. It's a big job.
Thank you.
And very much appreciated by the community. I see the numbers that we've had in the past. I think we should we had last year was a little higher than that. I think we need to kind of scale it back to what we've got budgeted, around $5,000. I think that would be a very generous, and I think that would help you and go a long ways toward getting your program together.
Yes,
So
it is appreciated.
that would be my recommendation, so.
I would, I'd kind of want to go a little bit higher and meet in the middle. I'd like to ask, I did ask Paul, like, what the impact of that would be, and we can find the money, I guess, if it's not the 8,500 that we did last year. But I would advocate for going 7,000.
My only hesitation on that is with this budget that we've got right now, with the fact that we were, $500,000 under on our last report. I think we need to kind of stick to what we have already budgeted and not go in excess, because that's gonna contribute more to our deficit spending on this. So I think 5,000 would help them immensely, so.
Can I add something?
Sure, absolutely, go ahead.
Of course, anything is, will go long ways, and anything is appreciated. I do want to let you know that this class in particular, I know every class has gone through their hardship with the pandemic. This class specifically did not get a graduation or a proper celebration from their promotion of middle school. This will be it. And they have gone through another hardship with their staff member at their own high school. Unfortunately, they each get an advisor since freshman year. This advisor failed them and did not raise any money. So they are struggling on their part. This is totally separate from the school, but they're struggling on their part as a class to raise money to celebrate grad night, their senior trip. So we're hoping to really give them this big celebration, kind of like combination of their 8th grade promotion and high school graduation. But and like I said, we appreciate you guys having us here. Thank you.
All right, any questions, comments?
I was able to attend last year, and it was a lot of fun. I didn't stay a long time, maybe about an hour, but it was nice to be able to see the kids enjoying. One of the things I'm really happy to see is that the fundraising that you guys are doing. It's not easy fundraising. I know sometimes it's a little bit uncomfortable, but the fact that you did the fireworks this year really improved, really got that money up there. And so I would agree with the mayor. I would like to do what we did last year, but right now we just have a lot of uncertainty as far as our finances go. But I would agree with the 5,000, and like I said, I'm just really happy that you're doing such a good job on the fundraising. I'd hate to see your list looks really good on all the things that they're going to do. And I know it takes money. I know things are, and especially now everything's even more expensive. But thank you for taking it on. It's a lot of work.
I entertain a motion.
I would move to approve that then, to approve a $5,000 donation. But I'd like to add that I am pledging to donate my next stipend check for city council, and without putting anyone else on the spot, I would, love to see us come together in solidarity for our graduating seniors. And I'll be doing that, and I would move for us to donate $5,000 from the city.
All right, I need a second.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, we donate $5,000. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, and I hope to see you Sunday.
Thank you.
And we'll give you an invite person.
All right, thank you. All right, K2, a resolution, City Council, City of Greenfield authorizing the city manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the County of Monterey regarding the installation of flock safety cameras within the County of Monterey right-of-way. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. The staff report before you is exactly that, allowed the city to enter an MOU agreement with the county. Specifically, we're looking to add 2 flock cameras out in the county area, Oak and Walnut, out by 13th Street, which we know would have been beneficial to the traffic accident that occurred. We are, and we will be expanding our city camera system, and we will be upgrading the technology with Flock systems. Currently, we do have some at several parks, and we're increasing that with the standard budget that we have. In the future, we'll be coming back asking for more money to expand that further, but right now, we're using current funds that we have in our system, from the current system, to pay for the upgraded cameras. They work very well. They're so easy to manipulate, to research. They work well with other cities that have the same cameras, Pacific Grove, Salinas, Monterey, the sheriff's office, and being able to view those cameras remotely, such beneficial. They came into play with the homicide case of San Jose. They came into play with the homicide in King City. There's such a big benefit. So allowing us to work with the county to put these cameras within the county right away would be beneficial. And I'll take any questions.
Great. I will go ahead and open up to public comments. K2. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. Questions, comments? I mean, I think in light of all the things that have happened over the last few weeks, I think this is well worth the money and the effort, so I think I definitely am in favor of this, so.
I see that in Soledad, there was a couple of incidents where those flock cameras came in very handy in solving some crimes, so I'm all for it. And it's funny because you mentioned the parks. I had some people over and they came in the house and they said, "Is that a camera?" I'm like, "Yes, it is." Smile.
That's great.
I'm happy.
Yeah, we were talking about what else can we do to help with prevention, and sometimes gathering information leads to more information, leads to arrests, and sometimes, like you said, just watching that there's a camera, I think it's a great investment, and I think we need more, so yes.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
The staff report mentions entry and exit points, so will there be 2 cameras, or is there like a set number of what we would be getting and approximate locations of where those would be?
So the beautiful thing about the cameras, they can, even though they're meant to capture the vehicle going in one way, the streets are narrow enough to where it will catch oncoming and departing vehicles. So the MOUs for 2 cameras on Walnut Oak around 13th Street, but also the entrance freeways, exits, entrances and exits, we're gonna be covering those. So, you know, down by the Shell gas station, north end of town, Oak, Walnut, Espinoza, we're gonna be covering those areas. So any vehicle coming into the city will have the, you know, license plate capture.
Great. Motion.
I would move to approve.
I have a motion to approve. I need a second.
I second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, K3, a resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield adopting amended Planning Commission bylaws. Staff report, please.
Good evening again, Mayor White and City Council. This item will sound pretty similar to the ordinance item related to the Planning Commission. But the Planning Commission did review their own bylaws earlier this year and made some changes which need to be approved by the City Council. Some of them just align with the changes that were made to the ordinance with respect to appointments. But they also did make a couple of other changes. For example, they did change from Robert's Rules of Order to Rosenberg's Rules of Order, which is what the City Council uses to operate their meetings. They changed their public comment time limit from 2 minutes to 5 minutes per speaker, and removed the requirement that a public speaker provide their name and address for the record. And they also updated some of the general rules for making motions to align with Rosenberg's Rules of Order rather than Robert's Rules of Order. And then, as I mentioned, they made corresponding changes to how appointments are made and vacancies are filled so that they are in alignment with what you approved for the municipal code changes. And with that, I can answer any questions.
All right. I'll open up for public comments. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for comments, review, and action.
I have a comment about the 5-minute increase, because if it's somebody's item on the agenda, they aren't limited to the 3 minutes, right? So this is just in general for all public comment?
Yeah, and it includes the person who, the applicant. You know, I've been attending the planning commission meetings for, I don't know, maybe a year or more. And there's generally no public comment. So they thought it was okay to give a little more time because there is rarely anyone actually speaking. But the applicant gets 5 minutes as well.
All right.
Seems like a lot.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. K4, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Greenfield establishing positions of Human Resources and Risk Management Analyst and Administrative Assistant to the City Manager. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Currently, the City of Greenfield employs an executive assistant to the city manager, whose main activities entail multiple job duties, including covering the functional administrative areas of human resources, HR, and risk management. Currently, the executive assistant to the city manager spends 85 to 95% of their time working in the HR and risk management areas, not necessarily as an assistant to the city manager. The intent of this item is to better classify the duties of this position as an analyst in human resources and risk management. The current executive assistant to the city manager job description dedicates 2 to 3 line items to the description of duties in the areas of HR and risk management. We propose to change that to be much more detailed. I'm not going to go through all the details, but it's in the staff report. In addition, we'd like to hire an administrative assistant to the city manager to fulfill the administrative duties that might be required by the city manager for the remainder of the fiscal year. Along with assisting the city manager in managing his or her calendar, appointments, etc., this position would likely assist the city manager handle additional tasks such as the following: spearheading citywide social media program and community calendars, all platforms to be more complete, effective, and efficient. Organize and administratively assist with local nonprofit and business group partnerships. Organize and administratively assist with regional and state agency partnerships, as well as assist with state representatives and policymakers. Along with better organizing future efforts by drawing a definitive line between HR, risk management, and administrative assistance, staff's efforts can be better focused on these 2 different growth areas. While I did have a budgetary impact in the prior staff report, because this was supposed to be for the last meeting, I've removed that because I'm finding monies in the current staff to cover it, the current budget to cover it. So there are no budgetary or financial impacts for fiscal year 24-25. And that's the end of my report. I'll take any questions.
I will open it up for public comments on this item, K4. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for comments, review, and action.
Paul, am I reading it correctly that it's in essence, it's a reclassification of the current administrative assistant?
Yes.
Because that person is going directly into the new role?
Well, that person really can continue doing what they do, which is
Under the new title.
almost entirely a new title. Yeah, that's right. It's a new title. I'm not closing out the executive assistant position, but I probably will when the new year starts. And I'm just hiring an administrative assistant, not executive, be a lower pay grade.
And there's no fiscal impact for this year, but that human resources analyst position, will that be at the same rate as the current executive assistant for
Yes.
next fiscal
Yes,
year?
for next fiscal year, yes. And there will obviously be an impact because this is a new person, but it'll be at the administrative assistant rate.
Any other questions? So you're basically finding money to pay for the person for the remainder of the year?
Yes.
Okay. We're not just voting on the job description, we're voting on an actual hire.
Yes, but it's funded.
So it's a hire and then a reclassification then, right?
Yes,
Essentially, yeah.
yeah, right.
questions or comments?
The money that you're finding to pay out the rest of this year, you don't have anybody hired for that new position though, right? So it might not even need to be paid the rest of this year?
That's true.
Okay.
Yes.
I move to adopt.
All right, I have a motion. I need a second.
I second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
K5, a resolution of City Council, City of Greenfield approving the side letter between City of Greenfield and the Greenfield Professional Firefighters Association, amending the fire captain job description and salary schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recently, city staff and council have approved the development of, or combining of police and fire departments into a public safety department. And the city and the Greenfield Professional Firefighters Association acknowledged that that consolidation oversight under a public safety director necessitates revisions to the fire captain job description and duties to reflect increased administrative responsibilities for those captains. The parties met and conferred regarding these amendments and have reached an agreement regarding the fire captain salary schedule increase and revised job description and duties. We desire to amend the current MOU to provide for a 5% salary increase for fire captains to compensate them for taking on increased duties. And the MOU between the association and the city is effective until June 30th, 2025, at which point we're going into negotiations with them anyway for next year, as of July 1. So the budget impact for this year will be a total captain workload compensation of around $7,350. And then for the full year next year, it's calculated at a little over $22,000. And if you recall, in the analysis of the combining of the two departments, this calculation was this calculation was a part of that. We ended up with a net savings because of the elimination of the fire chief and the fire chief position.
Okay.
And that's my staff report.
All right, very good. Open it up for public comments. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. Comments, review, and action. So these numbers are the same as we saw on those previous ones?
Yeah, this is one section of what you saw on the one-page sheet. So, yeah, the net effect of this entire thing is a savings. This is just the one piece. It will cost more for this part, but it's offset, more than offset by savings in other places.
How many captains do we have?
3.
3.
Mhm.
The other positions that were mentioned when we were reviewing the item for the fire chief position elimination, those will be coming to us separately, right? There was gonna be like an increase for the admin assistant or something else. There was a couple of other changes.
Yeah, we'll work on that. We'll work on that, gosh, pretty soon. Currently, the admin person is out on leave, and I'm not sure when they're coming back, but they will be coming back. So we'll work on that before, it will come back to you.
I would move to adopt if there's no other questions.
All right, have a motion. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a second.
Second.
Then moved and second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to L, brief reports on conferences, seminars, and meetings attended by mayor and city council. League of California Cities. Anything at all?
I attended an environmental policy committee meeting. I did ask though, because I was absent when Councilmember Ortiz was absent because she was at Cal Cities. Remember we had spoken about this, Paul, but we didn't get a report on that
Okay.
attendance.
On mine?
Yeah.
So maybe in the future, if not. future meeting, if you give us a little report back from
I was told you were absent because you were at Cal Cities but there was no report out at the next meeting on Cal Cities. So I had inquired about if we could get a report out.
First I heard about it, but I have no problem with that. I think that should be across the board, that anytime anybody goes anywhere, that you should come back and give us a report.
Yes,
So,
that's
no
why it was on the
problem with
next
that.
agenda, but that didn't happen, so I had asked for that, and then I have my report. Let's see.
All right. Are you under League of California Cities?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
It was
Go
with
ahead.
Cal Cities, it's a environmental policy committee. So we voted on 4 bills, so I'll go over each one and just give a summary of what we voted on. AB 61, sponsored by Pacheco, we voted to adopt a watch position on it. This was related to electricity and natural gas legislation imposing mandated programs and requirements have a third-party review. SB 491, Laird, Senator Laird, that was State Energy Resources and Conservation and Development Commission Chair, that there be a report out to the legislator, and we passed that. SB 915, Petrie Norris, it was a clean energy reliability investment plan. We voted to support that with the amendment that 25% of the funds would be required to go to disadvantaged communities. And then AB 222, Bauer Cahan, regarding data centers and energy usage reporting and modeling. This had to do with AI centers and building data centers. And really, we voted to oppose it, and some of the rationale for that was that data centers, while they bring a lot of jobs initially to construct the actual data center, they then almost employ no one and are self-sufficient. So everything goes to automation, and then ultimately it does not bring jobs to communities. So we oppose that bill. And then AB 306, Schultz, it's regarding building regulations and state building standards. It was a request for a moratorium. It would place a measure that would place a 6-year moratorium on state and local building standards, and we voted to oppose that. And that is all.
All right. Thank you very much. Transportation Agency for Monterey County.
Well, I was out of town, I was out of state, and I had asked the mayor to cover for me because he's my alternate, but unfortunately, him and Paul had to go to Sacramento, so mayor couldn't attend after all. So no one went.
Right.
But I will be making sure that I go to the next one. Also, just for the record, asking about reports. So I did send to Anne, and I'm sure you have it in an email. I sent my paperwork, the certificate that I did get from Cal Cities, and then I also sent you a report from TAMSI regarding missed meetings, meetings attended, and so I asked that Anne put those wherever she puts them at, just so in case anybody wanted to know what meetings I was attending and which ones I didn't attend, that you would have a record, and I plan on doing that going forward. So I will be at the next TAMSI meeting at the end of the month.
All right. Thank you very much, Jan. Apologize for conflict. I thought going to Sacramento was,
Hey, that was more important.
yeah, trying to get that
Need
taken
money.
care of. All right, Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments, that's me. We met on March 12th. We discussed the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. It has to do with long-range planning for transportation investments with a 20-year horizon in order to receive funding from the state and feds. The project needs to appear on the plan, and I reviewed the plan, and after reviewing that, I noticed that the Walnut Avenue widening project was not on there, so I called Paul Mugen and asked him to put that on to the plan so that we could possibly get funding for that in some future date. So, because if it's not on there, they say you can't get federal and state funds, so we definitely want federal and state funds. So that was pretty much it at that meeting. Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority.
That was me and Belen. We did approve the budget, and we also were talking about the tires that they could go ahead and take to Salinas, Gonzales, and King City. You want to add anything else?
They covered a lot of money. Budget.
Budget,
A lot of numbers.
yeah.
All right. Monterey Salinas Transit?
Oh, we meet Monday. We haven't met since my last report out
Okay.
for the March meeting.
Okay. South Salinas Valley Broadband Authority?
I attended as an alternate for council member. On March 20th, there was a broadband meeting here. It was led by our Supervisor Lopez, and it was attended by King City Mayor Mike LeBar. Okay. And myself as the alternate. And basically, Charter Spectrum gave a very brief presentation about how they've expanded to some members in San Lucas and San Nardo. And it was about a 15-minute meeting, and that was it.
All right. Monterey County Mayors Association, we met last Friday in Seaside. We voted as the City Select Committee on recommendations to the Assembly Speaker, Rivas, for appointment for nominees for the California Coastal Commission. We voted to recommend 2 mayors, Mike LeBar from King City and Tyler Williamson from Monterey. And we also voted to support 2 supervisors, Supervisor Chris Lopez from Monterey County and Justin Cummings from Santa Cruz County. So those were our recommendations. We also selected Bruce Delgado from Marina as an appointment to the Community Restorative Justice Commission. And that was also a recommendation. Right.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
These cards, I believe they're Know Your Rights cards, the red card, they were delivered. I found these in my mailbox, so I believe they came from Gabby Serrato. So I just wanted to say thank you for dropping these off. I'll make sure to distribute. Thank you.
All right. Salinas Valley Mayor's Managers Group, we met on March 24th in Soledad. We heard from Paul Farmer regarding the Monterey County Business Council, discussed what benefits we're getting from the Visit California Regional Tourism Plan, which, to be honest with you, wasn't a lot. We were kind of disappointed in that, and it was suggested that we should all reach out to them and make some suggestions to increase our tourism awareness there. We also discussed maybe South County hosting a joint legislative meeting with state representatives. We would like to, to get more action, being as we have the Assembly Speaker and an experienced state senator as our representative. So we would like to get them down in our area and see if we can get some regional activity going on. So. Planning Commission.
Paul, do you have any big news from Planning Commission? No?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. City Attorney report.
I have nothing to report.
City Manager report.
Yeah, I got a couple items. First, I'd like to apologize to Councilmember Ortiz. I did not relay the information to you regarding a report for your.
I kind of recall saying something about it, but I'll do a whole report.
Okay. And then the second thing is I was notified via email today that this is related to broadband. One of the projects that affected the city of Greenfield, our local agency technical assistance grant, the CPUC approved $408,000 worth of payment for that project that we'll be getting a check for. Of course, we have to turn it around and pay it to the people who did the work, but all but about $13,000, so we get to keep that for our administrative fees. So that's a positive thing, because not that we were worried about getting it, but it hadn't happened yet, so now it's going to happen. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to close the meeting in honor of Ryan Kennedy, the King City police officer who passed away while on duty this last month. Our thoughts are with him and his family. So, Meeting's adjourned.